The Phoenix Theatre and Arts Company is pleased to present Oscar Wilde's The Importance of Being Earnest. The performance that you are about to watch was filmed on Friday, August 20th, 2021, and was PTAC's first live in-person production. For information on upcoming auditions and productions, visit our website at phoenixtheatreartsco.com. That's theatre with an R-E. Thank you for your support and for making live theatre possible again. Without further ado, we present The Importance of Being Earnest.
I don't play accurately. Anyone can play accurately, but I play with wonderful expression. As far as the piano is concerned, sentiment is my forte. I keep science for life. Speaking of the science of life, Lane, have you got the cucumber sandwiches cut? For Lady Bracknell.
Yes.
By the way, Lane, I see from your book that on Thursday night, when Lord Shorman and Mr. Worthing dined, 8 bottles of champagne are entered as having been consumed?
Yes, sir. 8 bottles and a pint.
Why is it that at a bachelor's establishment, the servants invariably drink the champagne? I ask merely for information.
I attribute it to the superior quality of the wine, sir. I've often observed that in married households, the champagne is rarely of a first-rate brand.
Good heavens, is marriage so demoralizing as that?
No, sir, I believe it is a pleasant state, though I've not had much experience of it myself, up until the present. I've only been married once, and that was the consequence of a misunderstanding between myself and a young person.
I don't know that I am very interested in your family life, Lane.
Oh, no, sir, it's not a very interesting subject. I never think of it myself.
Very natural, I'm sure. That will do, Lane, thank you. Lane's views on marriage seem somewhat lax. Really, if the lower orders don't set us a good example, what on earth is the use of them? They seem, as a class, with absolutely no sense of moral responsibility.
Mr. Ernest Worthing?
My dear Ernest! What on earth brings you up to town?
Oh, leisure. What else to bring one anywhere? Eating as usual, I see, Algernon.
I believe it is customary in good society to take some slight refreshment at 5 o'clock. Where have you been since last Thursday?
In the country.
What on earth do you do there?
When one is in town, one amuses oneself. When one is in the country, one amuses other people. It is excessively boring.
Oh, and who are these people you amuse?
Oh, neighbours.
Got nice neighbours in your part of Shropshire?
Perfectly horrid. Never speak to one of them.
How immensely you must amuse them. By the way, Shropshire is your county, is it not?
Eh? Shropshire? Yes, of course, sir. Hello. Why all these types? Why cucumber sandwiches? Why such reckless extravagance in one so young? Who is coming to tea?
Merely Aunt Augusta and Gwendolen.
How perfectly delightful.
Yes, that is all very well, but I'm afraid Aunt Augusta won't quite approve of your being here.
May I ask why?
My dear boy, the way you flirt with Gwendolen is perfectly disgraceful. It is almost as bad as the way Gwendolen flirts with you.
I'm in love with Gwendolen. I've come up to town expressly to propose to her.
I thought you said you came up for pleasure. I call that business.
How utterly unromantic you are.
I see nothing romantic about a definite proposal. It is very romantic to be in love. But there is nothing romantic about a proposal. Why, one may be accepted. One usually is, I believe. Oh, And then the excitement is all over. No, the very essence of romance is uncertainty. If I ever get married, I shall certainly try to forget the fact.
I have no doubt about that, dear Algie. The divorce book was specially invented for people whose memories are so curiously constituted.
There is no use speculating on that matter. Divorces were made in heaven. Please don't touch the cucumber sandwiches. They were ordered specially for Aunt Augusta.
But you have been eating them all the time.
Well, that's quite a different matter. She is my aunt. Have the bread and butter. The bread and butter is for Gwendolen. Gwendolen is devoted to bread and butter.
And very good. Bread and butter, it is too.
Well, you need not eat as though you were going to eat at all. You act as though you were married to her already. You are not married to her already, and I don't think you ever will be.
What on earth do you mean?
Oh. In the first place, girls never marry the men they flirt with. Girls don't think it right.
Oh, that is nonsense.
No, it isn't. It is a great truth. It accounts for the extraordinary number of bachelors one sees all over the place. In the second place, I don't give my consent.
Your consent?
My dear boy, Gwendolen is my first cousin, and before I will allow you to marry her, you will have to clear up the whole question of Cecily.
Cecily? What on earth do you mean? What do you mean out about Cecily? I don't know anyone with the name of Cecily.
Bring me that cigarette case that Mr. Worthing left here the last time he dined with us.
Yes, sir.
Do you mean to say that you have had my cigarette case all this time? I wish to goodness you had let me know. I had been writing frantic letters to Scotland Yard about it. I was very nearly offering a large reward.
Well, I wish you would offer one. I happen to be more than usually hard up.
There is no good offering a large reward now that the thing is found.
I think that is rather mean of you, Ernest. However, it makes no matter, for now that I look at the inscription inside, I see that the thing isn't yours after all.
Of course it's mine. You have seen me with it 100 times, and you have no right whatsoever to read what is written inside. It's a very ungentlemanly thing to read a private cigarette case.
It's perfectly absurd to have a hard and fast rule about what one should read and what one shouldn't. Nearly half of modern culture depends on what one shouldn't read.
Quite aware of the fact that I don't propose to discuss modern culture. It isn't the sort of thing one should talk of in private. I simply want my cigarette case back.
Yes, but this isn't your cigarette case. This cigarette case was given as a present from someone of the name of Cecily, and you said you don't know anyone of that name.
Well, if you want to know, Cecily happens to be my aunt.
Your aunt?
Yes! Charming little lady she is too. Lives at Tunbridge Wells. Just give it back to me, aunt!
Yes, but why does she call herself Little Cecily if she is your aunt and lives at Tunbridge Wells? From Little Cecily, with her fondest love.
My dear fellow, what on earth is there now? Some aunts are tall, some aunts are not tall. That's a matter that's sorely an aunt may be allowed to decide for herself. You seem to think that every aunt is exactly the same as your aunt. That is absurd. For heaven's sake, give me back my cigarette case.
Yes, but why does she call you her uncle? From Little Cecily, with her fondest love, to her dear Uncle Jack. There is no objection, I admit, to an aunt being a small aunt, but why an aunt, no matter what her size may be, should call her own nephew her uncle, I can hardly make out. Besides, your name isn't Jack at all. It is Ernest.
It isn't Ernest. It's Jack.
You have always told me it was Ernest. I have introduced you to everyone as Ernest. You answer to the name of Ernest. You look as though your name was Ernest. You are the most earnest-looking person I have ever saw in my life. It's perfectly absurd you saying your name is not Ernest. It's on your cards. Look, here's one of them. Look. Mr. Ernest Worthing. Mr. Ernest Worthing, B4, the Albany. I shall keep this as proof your name is Ernest. Should you try to deny it to me, or to Gwendolen, or to anyone else?
Well, my name is Ernest in town with Jack. Cigarette case was given to me in the country.
Yes, but that does not explain why your small Aunt Cecily, who lives at Tunbridge Wells, calls you her dear Uncle Jack. Come on, old boy, you'd much better have that thing out at once.
Sure. Richard Algie, you talk exactly as if you were a dentist. It is very bold to talk like a dentist when one isn't a dentist. It produces a false impression.
That is exactly what dentists always do. Now go on. Tell me the whole thing. I may confess I have always suspected you of being a confirmed and secret Bunburyist, and I'm quite certain of it now.
Bunburyist? What on earth do you mean by a Bunburyist?
I shall reveal to you the meaning of that incomparable expression as soon as you are kind enough to reveal to me why you are Ernest in town and Jack in the country.
Well, produce my cigarette case first.
Here it is. Now, produce your explanation and pray, make it improbable.
My dear fellow, there is nothing improbable about my explanation at all. In fact, it is perfectly ordinary. Old Mr. Thomas Hardy, who adopted me when I was a little boy, made me in his will guardian to his granddaughter, Miss Cecily Hardy. Cecily, who addresses me as her uncle with my motives of respect, which you cannot possibly appreciate, visit my place in the country under the charge of her admirable governess, Miss Prism.
Where is that place in the country, by the way?
That is nothing to you, dear boy. You are not going to be invited. I may tell you candidly that the place is not Shropshire.
No, I'm quite aware of that. I have Bunburied all over Shropshire on 2 separate occasions. Now go on. Why are you Ernest in town and Jack in the country?
My dear Algernon, I don't know whether you'll be able to understand my real motive. You are hardly serious enough. When one is placed in the position of guardian, one has to adopt a high moral tone on all subjects. It is one's duty to do so. And as a high moral tone can hardly be said to conduce very much to either one's health or one's happiness, in order to get up to town, I have always pretended to have a younger brother of the name of Ernest. It's purely against the most dreadful schemes. That, my dear Algernon, is the truth. Pure and simple.
The truth is rarely pure and never simple. Modern culture would be very tedious if it were either, and modern literature a complete impossibility.
That wouldn't be at all a bad thing.
Literary criticism is not your forte, good fellow. Don't try it, no. Leave that to the people who haven't been at university. They do it so well in the daily papers. What you really are is a Bunburyist. I was quite right in saying you were a Bunburyist. You are one of the most advanced Bunburyists I have ever met.
What on earth do you mean?
You have invented a very useful younger brother by the name of Ernest, in order that you may be able to come up to town as often as you like. I have invented an invaluable permanent invalid by the name of Bunbury, in order that I may be able to go down to the country as often as I choose. Bunbury is perfectly invaluable. Why, if it wasn't for Bunbury's extraordinary bad health, for instance, I wouldn't be able to dine with you at Willis's tonight, for I have really been engaged to Aunt Augusta for more than a week.
I didn't ask you to dine with me anywhere tonight.
No, I know. You are so careless about sending out invitations. It is rather foolish of you. Nothing upsets people more than not receiving invitations.
You would much better dine with your Aunt Augusta.
I haven't the smallest intention of doing anything of the kind. In the first place, I already dined there on Monday, and once a week is more than enough to dine with one's own relations. In the second place, whenever I do dine there, I'm always treated as a member of the family and set down with either no woman at all or 2. In the third place, I already know who she will seat me next to tonight. She will seat me next to Rocco, who always flirts with her own husband across the dinner table. That is not very pleasant. Indeed, it is not even decent, and that sort of thing is enormously on the increase. The number of women in London who flirt with their own husbands is perfectly scandalous. It looks so bad. It's merely washing one's own clean linens in public. Besides, now that I know you to be a Bunburyist, I naturally want to talk to you about Bunburying. I want to tell you the rules.
I'm not a Bunburyist at all. If Gwendolen accepts me... If Gwendolen accepts me... I'm going to kill my brother. Oh, indeed, I think I'll kill him in any case. Cecily is a little too much interested in him. It is rather a bore. So I'm going to get rid of Ernest. Strongly advise you to do the same with Mr. with your invalid friend who has the absurd name.
Nothing will induce me to part with Bunbury. And should you ever get married, you will be very happy to know Bunbury. A man who marries without knowing Bunbury has a very tedious time of it.
That is nonsense. If I were to marry a charming girl like Gwendolen, and she's the only girl I ever saw in my life without marriage, I certainly won't want to know her. Bunbury.
Then your wife will. You don't seem to realize that in married life, 3 is company and 2 is none.
That's my tea, old friend, is the theory that the corrupt Prince Braun has been propounding for the last 50 years.
Yes, and that the happy English household is proved in half the time.
Having said, don't try to be cynical. It's perfectly easy to be cynical.
My dear boy, it isn't easy to be anything nowadays. There's so much beastly competition about. That must be Aunt Augusta. Only relatives and predators ring in that Wagnerian manner. Now, if I get her out of the way for 10 minutes or so that you may have an opportunity of proposing to Gwendolen, may I dine with you at Willis's tonight?
Suppose so. If you want to...
Yes, but you must be serious about it. I hate people who are not serious about their meals. It is so shallow.
Lady Bracknell and Miss Fairfax.
Algernon! Good afternoon, Algernon. I hope you're behaving very well.
I am feeling very well, Aunt Augusta.
Oh, that's not quite the same thing, is it? In fact, the two things rarely go together.
Dear me, you are smart.
I'm always smart, am I not, Mr. Worthing?
You're quite perfect, Miss Fairfax.
Oh, I hope I'm not that. I leave no room for developments, and I intend to develop in many directions.
I'm sorry if we're a little late, Algernon. I was obliged to call upon dear Lady Harbury. I had not been there since her poor husband's death. I'd never seen a woman look so altered. She looked quite 20 years younger. And now I believe I'll have a cup of tea and one of those nice cucumber sandwiches you promised me.
Certainly, Aunt Augusta.
Won't you sit here, Gwendolen?
Oh, thanks, Mama. I'm quite comfortable where I am.
Lady, why are there no cucumber sandwiches? I ordered them specially.
There were no cucumbers in the market this morning, sir. I went down twice.
No cucumbers.
No, not even for ready money.
That will do, lady.
Thank you, sir.
Aunt Augusta, I am greatly distressed about there being no cucumbers at the market. Not even for ready money.
Oh, it makes no matter, Algernon. I had some comfort with Lady Harbury, who seems to me to be living entirely for pleasure now.
Yes, I hear her hair has turned quite gold from grief.
Well, it certainly has changed its colour, but what cause I of course cannot say. Oh, thank you. Oh, I'm quite a treat for you tonight, Algernon. I'm going to send you down with Mary Farquhar. She's such a wonderful, nice woman, and so attentive to her husband. It's delightful to watch them.
I'm afraid I will have to give up the pleasure of dining with you tonight after all, Aunt Augusta.
Oh, I hope not. It would put my table completely off. Your uncle would have to dine upstairs. Fortunately, he is accustomed to that.
It is a great bore. I need hardly say an extreme disappointment, but the fact is I've just received a telegram about my poor invalid friend, Mr. Bunbury, who is very ill again. They seem to think that I should be with him.
It's very strange. This Mr. Bunbury seems to suffer from curiously bad health.
Yes, poor Bunbury is a dreadful invalid.
Well, I must say, Algernon, that I think it is high time that Mr. Bunbury made up his mind whether he was going to live or die. This shilly-shallying about the question is absurd, nor do I in any way approve of the modern sympathy with invalids. I consider it morbid. Illness of any kind is hardly to be encouraged in others. Health is the primary duty of life. I'm always telling that to your uncle, but he never seemed to take much notice. Well, at least as far as any improvement in his ailment goes. Oh, but I would be much obliged, Algernon, if you would tell Mr. Bunbury, from me, to be kind enough not to have a relapse on Saturday, for I rely on you to arrange my music for me. It's to be my last reception. One wants something that will encourage conversation, particularly at the end of the season, when everyone has said practically whatever they had to say, which in many cases was probably not much.
I will speak to Bunbury, Aunt Augusta, if he is still conscious, and I think I can assure you he'll be all right by Saturday. Of course, the music is a great difficulty. You see, if one plays good music, people don't talk, and if one plays bad music, people don't listen. But I'll run over the program I've drawn up if you'll kindly join me in the next room.
Oh, thank you, Algernon. That's very thoughtful of you. I'm sure the program will be delightful. After a few expurgations, French songs I cannot possibly allow. People always seem to think they're improper, and either look shocked, which is vulgar, or laugh, which is even worse. But German sounds a thoroughly respectable language, and indeed I believe is so. Gwendolen, you will accompany me.
Oh, certainly, Mamma.
Charming day it has been, Miss Fairfax.
Oh, pray do not talk to me about the weather, Mr. Worthing. Whenever people talk to me about the weather, I feel quite certain that they mean something else, and it makes me so nervous.
I do mean something else.
Oh, I thought so. In fact, I'm never wrong.
And I would like to be allowed to take advantage of Lady Bracknell's temporary absence.
Oh, I would certainly advise you to do so. Mamma has a way of coming back suddenly into a room that I've often had to speak to her about.
Miss Fairfax, ever since I met you, I have admired you more than any girl I've ever met since I met you.
Yes, I'm quite well aware of the fact. And I often wish that in public, at any rate, you've been more demonstrative. For me, you've always held an irresistible fascination. Even before I met you, I was far from indifferent to you. We live, as I hope you know, Mr. Worthing, in an age of ideals. The fact is constantly mentioned in the more expensive monthly magazines and has even reached the provincial pulpits, I am told. And my ideal has always been to love someone with the name of Ernest. That name inspires absolute confidence, and from the moment Algernon first told me that he had a friend called Ernest, I knew that I was destined to love you.
Really love me, Gwendolen?
Oh, passionately!
Darling, you don't know how happy you've made me.
My own Ernest.
But you don't mean to say you couldn't love me if my name is Ernest.
Oh, but your name is Ernest.
Yes, I noticed, but supposing it was something else, do you say you couldn't love me then?
Oh, that is clearly a metaphysical speculation, and like most metaphysical speculations, has very little reference at all to the actual facts of real life as we know.
Personally, darling, to speak quite candidly, I don't much care for the name of Ernest. I don't think the name suits me at all.
Oh, but it suits you perfectly. It is a divine name. It has a music of its own. It produces vibrations.
Well, really, Gwendolen, I must say there are lots of other, much nicer names out there. I think Jack, for instance. A charming name.
There's very little music in the name of Jack, if it didn't at all any indeed. It does not thrill. It produces absolutely no vibrations. Besides, I've known several Jacks, and they were all, without exception, more than usually plain. And Jack is notorious domesticity for John. And I pity any woman who married to a man called John. She would probably never be allowed to know the entrancing pleasure of a single moment's solitude. No. The only really safe name is Ernest.
Gwendolen, I must get christened at once. Please, we must get married at once. There is no time to be lost.
Married? Mr. Worthing?
But, surely, you know that I love you, and you led me to believe, Miss Fairfax, that you are not absolutely indifferent to me.
I adore you. But nothing has been said at all about marriage. You haven't proposed to me, and the subject has not even been touched on.
May I propose to you now?
I would certainly advise you to do so, and to spare you any possible disappointment. I think it only fair to tell you quite frankly beforehand that I'm fully determined to accept you.
Gwendolen.
Yes, Mr. Weather, what have you got to say to me?
You know what I've got to say to you.
Yes, but you don't say it.
Gwendolen, will you marry me?
Oh, of course I will, darling. How long you've been about it. I'm afraid you've had very little experience in how to propose.
But one, I have never loved anyone a little better but you.
Yes, but men often propose for practice. I know my brother Gerald does. All my girlfriends tell me so. What wonderfully blue eyes you have, Ernest. They're quite blue. I hope you'll always look at me just like that, especially when there are other people present.
Rise, Mr. Worthing, from this semi-recumbent posture. It is most indecorous.
Mamma, I must beg you to retire. This is no place for you. Besides, Mr. Worthing is not quite finished yet.
Finished what, may I ask?
I am engaged to be married to Mr. Worthing, Mamma.
Pardon me, you are not engaged to anyone. When you do become engaged to someone, either I or your father, should his health permit him, will inform you of the fact. Engagement should come on a young girl as a surprise, pleasant or unpleasant, as the case may be. It is absolutely not something she should be allowed to arrange for herself. And now, Mr. Worthing, I have a few questions I'd like to put to you. While I make my inquiries, Gwendolen, you will wait for me below in the carriage. In the carriage, Gwendolen! Gwendolen, the carriage!
Yes, Mamma.
You can have a seat, Mr. Worthing.
Thank you, Lady Bracknell. I prefer standing.
I feel bound to tell you, you were not down on my list of eligible young men, though I have the same list as the Duchess of Bolton has. We work together, in fact. But I am prepared to put your name down, should your answers be what a really affectionate mother requires. Do you smoke?
Well, yes, I must admit I smoke.
I'm glad to hear it. A man should have an occupation of some kind. There are too many idle men in London as it is. How old are you?
29.
Very good age to marry now. I have often been of opinion that a man who desires to marry should know either everything or nothing. Which do you know?
I know nothing, Lady Bracknell.
I'm pleased to hear it. I do not approve of anything which tampers with natural ignorance. Ignorance is like a delicate, exotic fruit. Touch it, and the bloom is gone. The whole theory of modern education is radically unsound. Fortunately, in England, at any rate, education produces no effect whatsoever. If it did, it would prove highly dangerous to the upper classes, and probably lead to acts of violence in Grosvenor Square. What is your income?
Between 7,000 and 8,000 a year.
In land or investments?
In investments, chiefly.
Oh, that is satisfactory. What between the duties expected of one during one's life, and the duties extracted from one after one's death, land has ceased to be a profit or a pleasure. It gives one position. It prevents one from keeping it up. That's all that can be said about land.
I own a country house with some land, of course, attached to it, about 1,500 acres, I believe. But I don't depend on that for my real income. In fact, as far as I can make out, the poachers are the only people who make anything out of it.
A country house? How many bedrooms? That can be turned up afterwards. You do have a town house, I think? A girl of as subtle and unspoiled nature as Gwendolen can hardly be expected to reside in the country.
Well, yes, I own a house in Belgrave Square, but it is let by the owner, Lady Bloxham. Of course, I could get it back whenever I'd like at 6 months' notice.
Lady Bloxham? I don't know her.
Oh, she goes about very little. She's a lady considerably advanced in years.
Nowadays, there is no guarantee for respectability of character. What number in Belgrave Square?
149.
Ooh, the unfashionable side. I knew there was something. Fortunately, that can easily be altered.
Do you mean the fashion or the size?
Both, if necessary, I presume. Are your parents living?
I have lost both my parents.
To lose one parent, Mr. Worthing, can be regarded as misfortune. To lose both looks like carelessness. What did your father do? He was evidently a man of some wealth. Was he born in what the radical papers call the purple of commerce? Or did he rise from the ranks of the aristocracy?
I'm afraid I really don't. The fact is, Lady Bracknell, I had said that I had lost both my parents. It would be nearer the truth, seeing that my parents seem to have lost me. I don't actually know who I am by birth. I was found.
Found?
The late Mr. Thomas Cardew, an old gentleman of a very charitable and kindly disposition, found me and gave me the name of Worthing. Of course, he happened to have a first-class ticket to Worthing in his pocket at the time, but Worthing is a place in Sussex. It's a seaside resort.
Where did this charitable gentleman with a first-class ticket to a seaside resort find you?
In a handbag.
In a handbag?
Yes, Lady Bracknell was found in a handbag. A somewhat large and black leather handbag with handles to it. An ordinary handbag, in fact.
Where did this Mr. James or Thomas Cardew come across this ordinary handbag?
The cloakroom at Victoria Station.
A cloakroom at Victoria Station?
Yes, right in line.
The line is immaterial, sir. I must admit, Mr. Worthing, I'm somewhat bewildered by what you have told me. To be born, or at any rate bred, in a handbag, whether it had handles or not, it seems to me to display a contempt for the ordinary decencies of family life, which reminds one of the worst excesses of the French Revolution. And I presume you know what that unfortunate thing led to? Shit! Yes, well, as for the particular location in which the handbag was found, a cloakroom at a railway station might serve to conceal a social indiscretion. It has probably, in fact, been used for that purpose before now, but it can hardly be regarded as an assured basis for a recognized position in good society.
May I ask you then, what would you advise me to do? I need hardly say I would do anything in the world to ensure Gwendolen's happiness.
Well, I would highly advise you, sir, to try and acquire some relations as soon as possible, and to make every effort to produce, at any rate, one parent of either sex before the season is quite over.
I don't see how I could possibly manage to do that. I could use the handbag for you at any moment. It is in my dresser at home. I really think that should satisfy you, Lady Bracknell.
Me? What has this to do with me? You can't imagine that Lord Bracknell and I would allow our only daughter, a girl brought up with the utmost care, to marry into a cloakroom and form an alliance with a parcel? Good morning, Mr. Worthing! Oh! Good morning! For goodness sake, don't play that ghastly tune, Algie! How idiotic you are!
Didn't it go off all right, old boy? You don't mean to say Gwendolen refused you? Oh, I know, it is a way she has. She is always refusing people. I think it most ill-natured of her.
Gwendolen is as bright as a trivet. As far as she is concerned, we are engaged. Mother is perfectly unbearable. Never met such a gorgon. Don't actually know what a gorgon is like, but I'm quite sure that Lady Bracknell is one. In any case, she's a monster without being a myth, which is rather unfair. Beg your pardon now, dear. Suppose I shouldn't talk of your own aunt in that way before me.
My dear boy, I love hearing my relations abused. It is the only thing that makes me put up with them at all. Relations are simply a tedious pack of people who haven't the smallest sense of how to live, nor the remotest idea about when to die.
Oh, that is nonsense.
It isn't.
Well, I won't argue about the matter. You always want to argue about things.
That is what things were originally made for.
Upon my word, if I thought that, I'd shoot myself.
Oh.
You don't suppose there's any chance of Gwendolen becoming like her mother in about 150 years? Do you, Algie?
My dear boy, all women become like their mothers. That is their tragedy. No man ever does. That is his.
Is that clever?
It is. Perfectly phrased, and quite as true as any observation on modern life ought to be.
I'm sick to death of that. Everybody's clever nowadays. You can't go anywhere without meeting clever people. The whole thing has become an absolute public nuisance. I wish to goodness we had a few fools left.
Oh, we have.
I should extremely like to meet them. What do they talk about?
The fools? About the clever people, of course.
What fools?
Have you told Gwendolen yet about your being Ernest in town and Jack in the country?
My dear young fellow, one doesn't tell the truth to a nice, sweet, refined girl. What extraordinary ideas you have about the way to behave to a woman.
No, the only way to behave to a woman is to make love to her if she is pretty, and to someone else if she is plain.
That is nonsense.
What about your brother? What about the profligate Ernest?
Oh, look. Before the end of the week, I shall have got rid of him. I'll say he died in Paris of apoplexy. Lots of people die of apoplexy quite suddenly.
Yes, but it's hereditary, my dear boy. The sort of things that runs in families. You had much better say a severe chill.
You are sure a severe chill isn't hereditary or anything of that kind?
Of course it isn't.
Very well. My poor brother Ernest was carried off suddenly in Paris by a severe chill. That is real.
What about Miss Cardew? Didn't you say she was a little too fond of your brother? Won't she feel his passing a great deal?
That is quite all right. Cecily isn't a silly romantic girl, I'm glad to say. She's got a capital appetite, goes on walks, and pays no attention at all to her lessons.
I should rather like to see Cecily.
Take very good care that you never do. She's excessively pretty and will be just 18.
Have you told Gwendolen yet that you have an excessively pretty ward who is only just 18?
One doesn't blurt these things out to people.
Gwendolen and Cecily are perfectly certain to become extremely good friends. I bet you anything that. Half an hour after they've met, they will be calling each other sister.
My dear boy, women only do that after they have called each other a lot of other things first. Now, if we want to get a good table at Willis's, we really must go and dress. Did you know it is nearly 7?
It is always nearly 7.
Yes, well, I'm hungry.
I never knew you when you weren't.
What shall we do after dinner? We could go to the theatre.
Oh, no, I know you're listening.
Oh, well, we might go to the club.
Oh, no, I hate talking.
We could trot around the Empire at 10.
Better looking at things, it is so silly.
Well, what shall we do?
Nothing.
It is awfully hard work doing nothing. However, I don't mind a little hard work when there is no definite object of any kind. Gwendolen, upon my word.
Algernon, kindly turn your back. We have something very particular to say to Mr. Wilde.
Gwendolen, I really don't think I can allow this at all.
Algie, you always adopt a strictly immoral attitude towards life. You're not quite old enough to do that yet.
My own one.
Oh, Ernest, we may never be married. From the expression on Mamma's face, I fear we never shall. Few parents nowadays pay any regard to what their children say to them. The old-fashioned respect for the young is fast dying out. Whatever influence I had over Mamma, I lost at the age of 3. But although she may prevent us from becoming man and wife, and although I may marry someone else, and marry often, nothing she can do can alter my eternal devotion to you.
Dear Gwendolen!
The story of your romantic origin as related to me by Mamma with amazing comments has naturally stirred the deeper fibers of my nature. Your Christian name has an irresistible fascination, and the simplicity of your character is exquisitely incomprehensible to me. Your town address in the Albany I have. What is your address in the country?
The Manor House, Woolton, Hertfordshire.
There's a postal service, I suppose? It may become necessary to do something desperate. It would require serious consideration. Yes, I will communicate with you daily.
I own one.
How long do you remain in town?
Till Monday.
Oh, good. Algie, you may turn around now.
Oh, thanks. I've turned around already.
You may also ring the bell.
You will let me see you to your cabin, my own darling.
Oh, certainly.
I will see Miss Fairfax out.
Yes, sir.
Bill? Bill? Oh. Bills. A glass of sherry, Lane.
Yes, sir.
Tomorrow, Lane, I'm going Bunbury.
Oh, yes, sir.
She'll probably not be back till Monday morning. You can put up my smoking jacket, my dress coat, all the Bunbury suits.
Yes, sir.
I hope tomorrow will be a fine day, Lane.
It never is, sir.
Lane, you are a perfect pessimist.
I do my best to give satisfaction, sir.
That will do, Lane. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
There's a sensible, intellectual girl. The only girl I ever cared for in my life. What are you so amused?
Oh, I'm simply anxious about poor Bunbury, that is all.
You don't take care. Your friend Bunbury will get you into a serious scrape someday.
I love scrapes. They are the only things that are never serious.
Oh, that is nonsense, Algie. You never talk anything but nonsense.
Nobody ever does. Oh. Hello.
Cecily, surely such a utilitarian occupation as the watering of flowers is rather Moulton's duty than yours, especially at a moment when intellectual pleasures await you. Your German grammar is on the table. Pray open it to page 15. We will repeat yesterday's lesson.
But I don't like German. It isn't at all a becoming language. I know perfectly well I look quite plain after my German lessons.
You know how anxious your guardian is that you should improve yourself in every way. He laid particular stress on your German as he was leaving for town yesterday. Indeed, he always lays stress on your German when he is leaving for town.
Dear Uncle Jack is so very serious.
Sometimes
He's so serious I think he cannot be quite well.
your guardian enjoys the best of health, and his gravity of demeanor is especially to be commended in one so young as he is. I know no one who has a higher sense of duty and responsibility.
I suppose that is why he often looks a little old when we three are together.
Cecily, I am surprised at you. Mr. Worthing has many troubles in his life. Idle merriment and triviality would be out of place in his conversation. You must remember his constant anxiety about that unfortunate young man, his brother.
I wish Uncle Jack would allow that unfortunate young man, his brother, to come down here sometime. We might have good influence over him, Miss Prism. I am sure you certainly would. You know German and geography and, well, things of that kind influence a man very much.
I am not certain that even I could produce any effect on a character that, according to his own brother's admission, is irretrievably weak and vacillating. Indeed, I am not sure that I would desire to reclaim him. I am not in favor of this modern mania for turning bad people into good people at a moment's notice. As a man sows, so let him reap. You must put away your diary, Cecily. I really don't see why you should keep a diary at all.
I keep a diary in order to enter the wonderful secrets of my life. If I didn't write them down, I should probably forget all about them.
Memory, my dear Cecily, is the diary that we all carry about with us.
Yes, but it chronicles the things that have never happened, and probably will never happen. I believe memory is responsible for nearly all the 3-volume novels that Muddy sends us.
Do not speak idly of the 3-volume novel, Cecily. I wrote one myself in earlier days.
Did you really, Miss Prism? How wonderfully clever you are. I hope it did not end happily. I don't like novels that end happily. They depress me so much.
The good end happily and the bad unhappily. That is what fiction means.
I suppose so, but it seems very unfair.
And was your novel ever published? Alas, no. The manuscript, unfortunately, was abandoned. I use the word in the sense of lost or mislaid. To your work, child, these speculations are profitless.
But I see dear Dr. Chasuble coming up through the garden.
Dr. Chasuble, this is indeed a pleasure.
And how are we this morning? Miss Prism, you are, I trust, well?
Miss Prism has just been complaining of a slight headache. I think it would do her so much good to have a short stroll in the park with you, Dr. Chasuble.
Cecily, I have not mentioned anything about headache.
No, I know that, dear Miss Prism. But I felt instinctively that you had a headache. I was thinking about that, and not my German lesson for the replicating.
I hope, Cecily, you are not inattentive.
Oh, I'm afraid I am.
That is strange. Were I fortunate enough to be Miss Prism's pupil, I would hang upon her lips. I spoke metaphorically. My metaphor was drawn from bees. Mr. Worthing has not returned from town yet?
We do not expect him till Monday afternoon.
Ah, yes, he usually likes to spend his Sunday in London. He is not one of those whose sole aim is enjoyment, as by all accounts that unfortunate young man, his brother, seems to be. But I must not disturb Egeria and her pupil any longer.
Egeria? My name is Letitia, Doctor.
A classical illusion merely, drawn from the pagan authors. I shall see you both, no doubt, at evensong.
I think, dear Doctor, I will have a stroll with you after all. I find I have a headache after all, and a walk might do it good.
With pleasure, Miss Prism, with pleasure. We might go as far as the schools and back.
That would be delightful. Cecily, you will read your political economy in my absence. The chapter on the fall of the rupee you may omit. It is somewhat too sensational. Even these metallic problems have their melodramatic side.
Horrid political economy. Horrid geography. Horrid German.
Mr. Ernest Worthing has just come over from the station. He's brought his luggage with him.
Mr. Ernest Worthing, B4, the Algernon. Uncle Jack's brother. Did you tell him Mr. Worthing was in town?
Yes, miss. He seemed very much disappointed. I mentioned to him that you and Miss Prism were in the garden. But he said he was very anxious to speak with you privately for a moment.
Ask Mr. Ernest Worthing to come out here. I suppose we were to talk to the housekeeper about the room again.
Yes, miss.
Oh. I've never met a really wicked person before. I feel rather frightened. I'm so afraid he will look just like everyone else. He does.
You are my little cousin Cecily, I'm sure.
You are under some strange mistake. I am not little. In fact, I believe I am more than unusually tall for my age. But I am your cousin Cecily. You, I see from your card, are Uncle Jack's brother, my cousin Ernest. My wicked cousin Ernest.
Oh, I am not really wicked, cousin Cecily. You must not think that I am wicked.
Well, if you are not, then you have certainly been deceiving us all in a very inexcusable manner. I hope you have not been leading a double life, pretending to be wicked and really being good all along. That would be hypocrisy.
Oh, I mean, I have been rather reckless.
I am glad to hear it.
Now that you mention the subject, I have been very bad in my own small way.
I don't think you should be so proud of that, though I'm sure it must have been very pleasant.
It is much pleasanter being here with you.
Well, I can't understand how you're here at all. Uncle Jack won't be back till Monday afternoon.
Oh, that is a great disappointment. I'm obliged to go up by the first train on Monday morning. I have an appointment in London that I am anxious to miss.
Couldn't you miss it anywhere but London?
No, the appointment is in London.
Well, I, of course, know how important it is for one not to keep a business engagement, if one wants to retain any of the sense of the beauty of life. But I'd still think you better wait till Uncle Jack arrives. I know he wants to speak to you about your emigrating.
About my what?
You're emigrating? He is sending you to Australia.
Australia? I'd sooner die.
Well, at dinner on Wednesday night, Uncle Jack said you'd have to choose between this world, the next world, or Australia.
Judging from reports of the next world and Australia not being particularly promising, I'd say this world is good enough for me, Cousin Cecily.
Yes, but are you good enough for it?
Oh, I am afraid I am not that, Cousin Cecily. That is why I want you to reform me. You might make that your mission in life, Cousin Cecily.
I don't think I have any time this afternoon.
Well, do you mind my reforming myself this afternoon?
Well, it is rather quixotic of you, but I think you should try.
I will. I feel better already.
You are looking a little worse.
Oh, that is because I am hungry.
How thoughtless of me. I should have remembered that when one is going to lead an entirely new life, one requires regular and wholesome meals. Why don't you come in?
Oh, thank you. Might I have a buttonhole first? I never have any appetite unless I have a buttonhole first.
A marché meal?
No, I sooner have a pink rose.
Why?
Because you are like a pink rose, Cousin Cecily.
I don't think it is right for you to speak to me that way. Miss Prism never says such things to me.
Oh, then Miss Prism is a short-sighted old lady. You are the prettiest girl I ever saw.
Miss Prism says that all good looks are a snare.
Oh, they are a snare that every sensible man would love to be caught in.
I don't think I'd care to catch a sensible man. I shouldn't know what to talk to him about.
You are too much alone, dear Dr. Chasuble. You should get married. A misanthrope I can understand. A womanthrope never.
Believe me, I do not deserve so neologistic a phrase. The precept as well as the practice of the primitive church was distinctly against matrimony.
That is obviously the reason why the primitive church has not lasted up to the present day. And you do not seem to realize, dear doctor, that by persistently remaining single, a man converts himself into a permanent public temptation. You should be married.
But is a man not attractive when married?
No married man is ever attractive except to his wife.
And often I've been told not even to her.
That depends on the intellectual sympathies of the woman. Maturity can always be depended upon. Ripeness can be trusted. Young women are green. Oh, I spoke horticulturally. My metaphor was drawn from fruits. Where is Cecily?
Perhaps she followed us to the schools.
Mr. Worthing.
Mr. Worthing.
This is indeed a surprise. We do not expect you till Monday afternoon.
I returned sooner than I expected. Dr. Chasuble, I hope you are well.
Dear Mr. Worthing, I trust this garb of woe does not betoken some terrible calamity.
My brother.
More shameful deaths and extravagance?
Still leading his life of pleasure.
Dead.
What? Your brother Ernest dead?
Quite dead.
What a lesson for him. I trust he will profit by it.
Mr. Worthing, I offer you my sincere condolence. You have at least the consolation of knowing that you were always the most generous and forgiving of brothers.
Poor Ernest. He had many faults, but it is a sad blow.
Very sad indeed. Were you with him at the end?
No, he died abroad in Paris. I had a telegram last night from the manager of the Grand Hotel.
Well, Was the cause of death mentioned?
Severe chill, it seems.
As a man sows, so shall he reap.
Charity, dear Miss Prism, charity. None of us are perfect. I myself am peculiarly susceptible to drafts. Will the interment take place here?
No, he seems to have expressed a desire to be buried in Paris.
In Paris? I fear that hardly speaks to any serious state of mind at the last. You would like me to make some slight allusion to this tragic domestic affliction next Sunday? My sermon on the meaning of the manna in the wilderness can be adapted to almost any occasion. Joyful, or as in the present case, distressing. I have preached it at harvest celebrations, christenings, confirmations, on days of humiliation and festal days. The last time I delivered it was in the cathedral as a charity sermon on behalf of the Society for the Prevention of Discontent among the upper orders. The bishop, who was present, was much struck by some of the analogies I drew.
That reminds me. You mentioned christening, I think, Dr. Chasuble. I suppose you know how to christen, all right? I mean, you are continually christening, aren't you?
It is, I regret to say, one of the rector's most constant duties in the parish. I have often spoken to the poorer classes on the subject, but they don't seem to know what thrift is.
Well, is there any particular infant you had in mind, Mr. Worthing? Your brother was, I believe, unmarried, was he not?
Oh, yes.
People who live entirely for pleasure usually are.
But it is not for any child, dear doctor. I'm very fond of children. No, the fact is, I would like to be christened myself this afternoon, if you have nothing better to do.
Well, surely, Mr. Worthing, you've been christened already.
I don't remember anything about it.
But have you any grave doubts on the subject?
I certainly intend to have. Of course, I don't know if the thing would bother you in any way, or if you think I'm a little too old now.
Not at all. The sprinkling and indeed the immersion of adults is a perfectly canonical practice.
Immersion?
Oh, you need have no apprehension. Sprinkling is all that is necessary, and indeed I think advisable. Our weather is so changeable. At what hour would you wish the ceremony performed?
Oh, I might trot round about 5, if that would suit you.
Perfectly, perfectly. In fact, I have 2 similar ceremonies to perform at that time. A case of twins, which occurred recently in one of the outlying cottages on your own estate. Poor Jenkins, the miller, a most hard-working man.
Oh, I don't see much fun in being christened along with other babies. It would be childish. Would 5:30?
Admirably, admirably. And now, dear Mr. Worthing, I will no longer intrude into a house of sorrow. I would merely beg you not to be too bowed down by grief. What seem to us at first bitter trials are often blessings in disguise.
It seems to me a blessing of an extremely obvious kind.
Uncle Jack! Oh, I am pleased to see you back. Ooh, but what horrid clothes you've got on. Do go and change them.
Cecily!
My child, my child.
Uncle Jack, what is the matter? You look as if you have toothache, and I have got such a surprise for you. Who do you think is in the dining room? Your brother!
Who?
Your brother Ernest. He arrived about half-hour ago.
What nonsense! I haven't got a brother.
Don't say that. No matter how badly he may have behaved to you in the past, he is still your brother. You couldn't be so heartless as to disown him. I'll tell him to come out. And you will shake hands with him, won't you, Uncle Jack?
These are very joyful tidings.
After we had all been resigned to his loss, his sudden return seems to me peculiarly distressing.
My brother is in the dining room. I don't know what it all means. I think it is perfectly absurd. Good heavens!
Dear Brother John, I have just come down from town to tell you that I am very sorry for all the pain that I have caused you, and that I intend to lead a better life in the future.
You are not going to refuse your own brother's hand.
Nothing will induce me to take his hand. I think he's coming down here disgraceful. He knows perfectly well why.
Uncle Jack, do be nice. Surely there is much good. Ernest has been telling me all about his poor invalid friend, Mr. Bunbury, whom he goes to visit so often, and surely there must be much good in one who is kind to an invalid and leaves the pleasures of London to sit by a bed of pain.
Oh, he has been talking about Bunbury, has he?
Oh yes, he's told me all about poor Mr. Bunbury and his terrible state of health.
Bunbury! Well, I won't have him talk to you about Bunbury or about anything else. It is enough to drive one perfectly frantic.
Well, of course, I admit that the faults were all mine. However, I find Brother John's coldness to me to be peculiarly painful. I must say, I expected a more enthusiastic welcome, especially considering it is the first time that I have come here.
Uncle Jack, if you do not shake Ernest's hand, I will never forgive you.
Never forgive me?
Never, never, never.
Well, this is the last time I shall do it.
It is pleasant to see such a perfect reconciliation, is it not? I think we might leave the two brothers together.
Cecily, you will come with us.
Certainly, Miss Prism. My little task of reconciliation is over.
You have done a beautiful thing today, dear child.
We must not be premature in our judgments. I feel very happy.
You young scoundrel, Algie! You must get out of this place as soon as possible. I don't allow any Bunbury in here.
I have put Mr. Ernest's things, his luggage, sir, in the room next to yours. I suppose that's all right.
What?
Yes, sir. His luggage.
His luggage?
His luggage, sir, yes. His 3 portmanteaus, a dressing case, 2 hat boxes, and a large luncheon basket.
I am afraid I can only stay for a week this time.
Merriman, order the dog cart at once. Mr. Ernest has been suddenly called back to town.
Yes, sir.
What a fearful liar you are, Jack. I haven't been called back to town at all.
Yes, you have.
I haven't heard anyone call me.
Your duty as a gentleman calls you back.
My duty as a gentleman has never interfered with my pleasure in the smallest degree.
I can quite understand that.
Well, Cecily is a darling.
You are not to talk of Miss Cardew like that. I don't like it.
I don't like your clothes. You look perfectly ridiculous in them. Why on earth don't you go up and change? It is quite silly to be in deep mourning for a man who is actually staying at your house as a guest for an entire week. I call it grotesque.
Well, you'll certainly not stay with me for a whole week as a guest or anything else. You've got to leave. By the 4-5 train.
Oh, I certainly won't leave you while you are in mourning. That would be most unkind of me. You would stay with me if I were in mourning, would you not? I would think it most unfriendly if you did not.
Well, will you go if I change my clothes?
Oh, yes, if you are not too long about it. I've never seen anyone take so long to dress in with such little result.
At any rate, that is better than being always overdressed as you are.
Oh, if I am occasionally a little overdressed, I make up for it by always being immensely overeducated.
Your vanity is ridiculous. Your conduct an outrage, and your presence in my garden utterly absurd. However, you've got to catch the 4-5, and I hope you have a pleasant journey back to town. This whole Bunbury, as you call it, has not been a great success for you.
Well, I think it has been a great success. I am in love with Cecily, and that is everything. But I must see her before I go and make arrangements for another Bunbury. Oh, there she is.
Oh, I merely came back to water the roses. I thought you were with Uncle Jack.
He's gone to fetch the dog cart for me.
Oh, is he going to take you for a nice drive?
No, he's going to send me away.
Then we have got to part?
I'm afraid so. It is a very painful parting.
Oh, it is always painful to part from people whom one has just been introduced. The absence of old friends one can endure with equanimity, but even a momentary separation from one to whom has just met is almost unbearable.
Thank you.
The dog cart is at the door, sir.
It can wait, Merriman, for 5 minutes.
Yes, miss.
Cecily, I hope I will not offend you if I state quite frankly and openly that you seem to me to be in every way the visible personification of absolute perfection.
I think your frankness does you great credit, Ernest. If you will allow me, I will copy your remarks into my diary.
Do you really keep a diary? May I read it?
Oh, no. It is very simply a young girl's record of her own thoughts and impressions, and consequently meant for publication. When it appears in volume form, I hope you'll order a copy. Now, pray, Ernest, don't stop. I delight in taking down from dictation. I have reached absolute perfection. You may go on. I am quite ready for more.
Oh,
don't cough, Ernest. While one is dictating, one should speak fluently and not cough. Besides, I don't know how to spell cough.
Cecily, ever since I first laid eyes upon you, I have dared to love you wildly, passionately, devotedly, hopelessly.
No, I don't think you should tell me you love me wildly, passionately, devotedly, hopelessly. Hopelessly doesn't make much sense now, does it?
Cecily?
The dog cart is waiting, sir!
Tell it to come around next week at the same hour.
Yes, sir.
Uncle Jack would be very much annoyed if he knew you were staying on till next week at the same hour.
I don't care about Jack. I don't care about anyone but you. You will marry me, won't you, Cecily?
You silly boy, of course. Why, we have been engaged for the last 3 months.
The last 3 months?
Yes, it will be exactly 3 months on Thursday.
But how did we become engaged?
Well, ever since dear Uncle Jack first confessed that he had a younger brother who was very wicked and bad, you, of course, have formed the chief topic of conversation between myself and Miss Prism. And any man who is much talked about is always very attractive. One thinks there must be something in him after all. I dare say it was foolish of me, Ernest, but I fell in love with you.
But when was the engagement actually settled?
Oh, on 14th of February last, worn out by your entire ignorance of my existence, I determined to settle the matter one way or the other. And after a long struggle with myself, I accepted you under this dear tree here. The next day I went out, and I bought this ring in your name, and this bangle with the true lover's knot I promised you always to wear.
Ooh, did I give you this? That's very pretty, isn't it?
Yes, you've wonderfully good taste, Ernest. It's the excuse I've always given you for leading such a bad life. Oh, and this is the box in which I keep all your dear letters.
My letters! But my own dear sweet Cecily, I have never written you any letters.
You need hardly remind me of that, Ernest. I remember all too well I was forced to write your letters for you. I wrote always 3 times a week, and sometimes oftener.
Well, may I read them?
Certainly not. It would make you far too conceited. The 3 you wrote me after I had broken off the engagement are so beautiful and so badly spelt, as even now I can hardly read them without crying a little.
But was our engagement ever broken off?
Of course it was, on 22nd of March. Here, you may see the entry if you like. Today I broke off my engagement with Ernest. I feel it is better to do so. The weather continues charming.
But why did you break off our engagement, Cecily? What have I done? Cecily, I've done nothing at all. I'm very hurt indeed to hear you broke off our engagement, especially when the weather was so charming.
Well, it would hardly have been a very serious engagement if it hadn't been broken off at least once. But I forgave you before the week was out.
What a perfect angel you are.
You dear romantic boy. I hope your hair curls naturally. Does it?
Oh, yes, with a little help from others.
I am so glad.
You'll never break off our engagement again, Cecily?
I don't think I could now that I actually met you. And besides, of course, there is the question of your name.
My name!
You mustn't laugh at me, darling, but it has always been a girlish dream of mine to love someone by the name of Ernest. There is something in that name that inspires absolute confidence. I pity any poor married woman whose husband is not called Ernest.
But, my own dear Cecily, do you mean to say you couldn't love me if I had some other name?
But what name?
Oh, any name you like. Algernon, for instance.
But I don't like the name Algernon.
My own sweet, loving little Cecily, I really don't see what you should have against the name of Algernon. It is a very aristocratic name. It is not a bad name at all. Why, half of the gentlemen who make it into the bankruptcy court are called Algernon. But seriously, Cecily, if my name was Algie, couldn't you love me?
I might respect you, Ernest. I might admire your character, but I fear I should never be able to give you my undivided attention.
Cecily, your rector here is, of course, practiced in all of the rites and ceremonials of the church.
Oh, yes. Dr. Chasuble is a most learned man. He has never written a single book, so you can imagine how much he knows.
I must see him at once on a very important christening. Most important business.
Oh?
I shan't be gone half an hour.
Considering that we have been engaged since the 14th of February, and I only met you for the first time today, I feel it is rather hard that you should leave me for so long a period as half hour. Couldn't you make it 20 minutes?
I'll be back in no time.
What an impetuous boy. I like his hair so much. I must enter his proposal into my diary.
A Miss Fairfax has just called to see Mr. Worthing. On very important business, Miss Fairfax states.
Isn't Mr. Worthing in his library?
Mr. Worthing, I believe, went over in the direction of the rectory some time ago.
Oh, I'm slated to come out here. Mr. Worthing is sure to be back soon. And you can bring tea.
Yes, miss.
Miss Fairfax. I suppose one of the many good elderly women who are associated with Uncle Jack in some of his philanthropic work in London. I don't quite like women who are associated with philanthropic work. I think it's so full of them.
Miss Fairfax?
Pray, let me introduce myself to you. My name is Cecily Cardew.
Cecily Cardew. What a very sweet name. Something tells me we are going to be very great friends. I like you already more than I can say, and my first impressions of people are never wrong.
How nice of you to like me so much after we've known each other such a comparatively short time. Pray, sit down.
I may call you Cecily, may I not?
With pleasure.
And you'll always call me Gwendolen, won't you?
If you wish.
Then it's all quite settled, is it not?
I hope so.
Perhaps this might be a favourable opportunity for my mentioning who I am. My father is Lord Bracknell. You've never heard of Papa, I suppose.
I don't think so.
Outside the family circle, I'm glad to say Papa's entirely unknown. I think that's entirely how it should be. The home seems to me to be the proper sphere for a man. And indeed, once a man begins to neglect his domestic duties, he becomes painfully effeminate. I don't like that. It makes men so very attractive, don't you think? Cecily, Mama, whose views on education are remarkably strict, has brought me up to be extremely short-sighted. So I wonder, do you mind my looking at you through my glasses?
Oh, no, Gwendolen, please do. I am very fond of being looked at.
Yes, dear. You're here on a short visit, I suppose?
Oh no, I live here.
Really? Your mother, no doubt, or some female relative of advanced years resides here also?
Oh no, I have no mother, nor in fact, any relations.
Indeed.
My guardian, with the assistance of Miss Prism, have the arduous task of looking after me.
I'm sorry, did you say your guardian?
Yes, I am Mr. Worthing's ward.
Oh, it is strange to me that he never mentioned he had a ward. Very secretive of him. He grows more interesting hourly. I'm not sure, however, that this news inspires me with feelings of unmixed delight. I'm very fond of you, Cecily. I've liked you ever since I met you, but I'm bound to state, now that I know you're Mr. Worthing's ward, that I cannot help expressing a wish that you were, well, somewhat older than you seem to be, and not quite so alluring in appearance. In fact, if I may speak candidly...
Pray do. I think that when anyone has anything unpleasant to say, one should always be quite candid.
Well, to speak with perfect candour, Cecily, I wish that you were fully 42 and more than usually plain for your age. Ernest has a strong and upright nature. He's the very soul of truth and honour. Disloyalty would be as impossible to him as deception. But even men of the noblest possible moral character are extremely susceptible to the influences of the physical charms of others. Modern, no less than ancient history, supplies us with many examples of what I refer to. If it were not so, indeed, history would be quite unreadable.
I beg your pardon, Gwendolen. Did you say Ernest?
Oh, yes.
Oh, but it is not Mr. Ernest Worthing who is my guardian. It is his brother, his elder brother.
Oh, but Ernest never mentioned to me that he had a brother.
I am sorry to say that they have not been on good terms for quite some time.
Oh, that accounts for it. And now that I think of it, I've never heard any man mention his brother. The subject seems distasteful to most men. Oh, Cecily, you lifted a load from my mind. I was growing really almost anxious. It would have been terrible had a cloud come across a friendship like ours, would it not? Of course, you are quite sure that it is not Mr. Ernest Worthing who is your guardian?
Quite sure. In fact, I am going to be his.
Oh, I beg your pardon?
Dearest Gwendolen, there's no reason why I should make a secret of it to you. Our little county newspaper is sure to chronicle the fact next week. Mr. Ernest Worthing and I are engaged to be married.
My darling Cecily, there must be some slight error. Mr. Ernest Worthing is engaged to me. The announcement will appear in the Morning Post on Saturday at the latest.
You must be under some misconception. Ernest proposed to me exactly 10 minutes ago.
Oh, it is curious, for he asked me to be his wife yesterday at 5:30. If you would care to verify the incident, pray do so. I never travel without my diary. One should always have something sensational to read on the train. I'm so sorry, darling Cecily, if it is any disappointment to you, but I'm afraid I have the prior claim.
Dearest Gwendolen, it would distress me more than I can tell you if it has caused you any mental or physical anguish. But I feel bound to point out that since Ernest proposed to you, he has clearly changed his mind.
If the poor fellow has been entrapped into any foolish promise, I shall consider it my duty to rescue him at once and with a firm hand.
Whatever unfortunate entanglement my dear boy may have gotten into, I will never reproach him once we are married.
Do you allude to me, Miss Cardew, as an entanglement? You are presumptuous. On an occasion of this kind, it becomes more than a moral duty for one to speak one's mind. It becomes a pleasure.
Do you suggest that I entrapped Ernest into an engagement? How dare you! This is no time for wearing the shallow mask of manners. When I see a spade, I call it a spade.
Well, I'm glad to say I've never seen a spade. It is obvious our social spheres have been wildly different.
Shall I lay tea here as usual, miss?
Yes, as usual.
Are there many interesting walks in the vicinity, Miss Cardew?
Oh yes, a great many. From the tops of one of the hills quite close, one can see 5 counties.
Oh, 5 counties? I don't think I should like that. I hate crowds.
And I suppose this is why you live in town.
Quite a well-kept garden this is, Miss Cardew.
So glad you like it, Miss Fairfax.
I had no idea there were any flowers in the country.
Oh yes, flowers are as common here, Miss Fairfax, as people are in London.
Personally, I cannot see how anybody manages to live in the country if anybody who is anybody ever does. The country always bores me to death.
Ah, yes, this is what the newspapers are calling agricultural depression. I hear the aristocracy are suffering from it very much just at present. I hear it is almost an epidemic amongst them. May I offer you some tea, Miss Fairfax?
Thank you. Detestable girl, but I require tea.
Sugar?
No, thank you. Sugar's not fashionable anymore.
Cake or bread and butter?
Bread and butter, please. Cake is rarely seen in the best houses nowadays.
Hand this to Miss Fairfax.
My tea with lumps of sugar. And though I most distinctly asked for bread and butter, you've given me cake. I am known for the gentleness of my disposition and the extraordinary sweetness of my character. But I warn you, Miss Cardew, you may go too far.
Save my poor, innocent, trusting boy from the machinations of any other woman, there are no lengths to which I would not go.
From the moment I saw you, I distrusted you. I felt that you were false and deceitful. I'm never deceived on such matters. My first impressions of people are invariably right.
It seems to me, Miss Fairfax, that I am trespassing on your valuable time. No doubt you have many other calls of a similar character to make around the neighborhood.
What? Ernest! Oh, my own Ernest!
Gwendolen, darling!
A moment. May I ask, are you engaged to be married to this young lady?
So dear little Cecily? Of course not. What could have put such an idea into your pretty little head?
Thank you, May.
I knew there must be some misunderstanding, Miss Fairfax. The gentleman whose arm is at present round your waist, he is my guardian, Mr. John Worthing.
I beg your pardon?
This is Uncle Jack.
Jack. Oh,
Here is Ernest.
my own darling.
A moment, Ernest. May I ask, are you engaged or married to this young lady?
What young lady? Good heavens, Gwendolen!
Yes, to good heavens, Gwendolen! I mean to Gwendolen.
Of course not. What on earth could have put such an idea into your pretty little head?
Thank you. You may.
I felt there was some slight error, Miss Cardew. The gentleman who is now embracing you is my cousin, Mr. Algernon Moncrief.
Algernon Moncrief? Oh. Is your name really Algie?
I cannot deny it.
Is your name really John?
Could deny it if I liked. I could deny anything if I liked. But my name certainly is John. It has been John for years.
A gross deception has been practiced on both of us.
Oh, my wounded Cecily!
Oh, my sweet Aunt Gwendolen.
You will call me sister, will you not?
as my guardian.
An admirable idea. Mr. Webben, there's just one question I should like to be able to ask you. Where is your brother Ernest? We are both engaged to be married to your brother Ernest. So you see, it is a matter of some importance to us to know where your brother Ernest is at present.
Gwendolen, Cecily, it is very painful for me to be forced to speak the truth, because for the first time in my life I have ever been reduced to such a painful position, and I am quite inexperienced in doing anything of the kind. However, I will tell you quite frankly that I have no brother Ernest. I have no brother at all. I never had a brother in my life, and I certainly have not the smallest intention of ever having one in the future.
No brother at all?
None.
Have you never a brother of any kind?
No, not even of any kind.
I'm afraid it is quite clear, darling Cecily, that neither of us is engaged to be married to anyone.
It is not a very pleasant position for a young girl to suddenly find herself in now, is it?
Come, let us go into the house. They will hardly venture to come after us there.
No, men are so cowardly, aren't they?
So many things.
This ghastly state of things is what you call bun-burying, I suppose.
Yes! And a perfectly wonderful bunbury it is! The most wonderful bunbury I've ever had in my life.
No right whatsoever to Bunbury here.
That is absurd. One has a right to Bunbury anywhere one chooses. Every serious Bunburyist knows that.
Serious Bunburyist? Good heavens!
Well, one must be serious about something if one is to have any amusement in life. I happen to be serious about Bunburying. What on earth you are serious about, I haven't the remotest idea. About everything, I should fancy. You have such an absolutely trivial nature.
Well, the only small satisfaction I have in the whole of this wretched business is that your friend Bunbury is quite exploded. You won't be able to run down to the country quite so often as you used to, dear Algie. And a very good thing, too.
Oh, well, your brother is looking a little off-color, isn't he, Jack? You won't be able to sneak up to town as often as your wicked way was. And not such a bad thing, either.
As for your conduct towards Miss Cardew, I think you're treating a sweet, simple, innocent girl like that is quite inexcusable. To say nothing of the fact that she is my ward.
Well, I can see no possible defense in your deceiving a brilliant, charming, thoroughly experienced young lady as Miss Fairfax, to say nothing of the fact that she is my cousin.
I wanted to be engaged to Gwendolen, that is all I love her.
I simply wanted to be engaged to Cecily. I adore her.
There's no chance of your marrying Miss Cardew.
Well, I think it very unlikely of you and Miss Fairfax being united.
Well, that is no business of yours.
No, well, if it was my business, I wouldn't talk about it. Oh. Only people like stockbrokers talk about their own business. It is very vulgar, and they only do it at dinner parties.
How can you sit there, calmly eating muffins when we are in this horrible trouble? I can't quite make out. You seem to me to be perfectly heartless.
Well, I can't eat muffins in an agitated manner. The butter would probably get on my cuffs. No, one must always eat muffins very calmly. It is the only way to eat them.
I say it's perfectly heartless. You're eating muffins at all under the circumstances.
When I am upset, food is the... Excuse me. Food is the only thing that consoles me. Indeed, when I am truly upset, as anyone who knows me intimately will tell you, I refuse everything besides food and drink. Right now I am eating muffins because I am unhappy.
Besides!
I am particularly fond of muffins.
Well, that is no reason why you should eat them all in that greedy way.
Oh, Jack! I wish you would have tea cake. I don't like tea cake.
Good heavens! I suppose a man ate his own muffins in his own garden.
But you have just said it was perfectly heartless to eat muffins.
I said it was perfectly heartless of you under the circumstances. That is a very different thing.
That may be. But the muffins are the same.
Archie! I wish to goodness you would go. Why don't you go?
You can't possibly ask me to go without having some dinner first. Only people like vegetarians go without having dinner. Besides, I've just made arrangements with Dr. Chasuble to be christened under the name of Ernest this afternoon.
You fellow, the sooner you give up that notion, the better! Oh, I made arrangements this morning with Dr. Chasuble to be christened myself at 5:30, and I naturally will take the name of Ernest! Gwendolen would wish it! We both can't be christened Ernest. It's absurd. Bizarre. I never thought it right to be christened at 5. There is no evidence I've ever been christened at 5. I should think it's extremely probable I never was, and so does Dr. Chasuble. It is entirely different in your case. You have been christened already.
No! Well, I have not been christened in years!
Yes, but you have been christened. That is the important thing.
Quite so! So I know my constitution can stand it. I must say, if you think you may have not been christened, I think it's very dangerous you venturing on it now. It may make you very unwell. You need hardly forget that someone very close to you was quite nearly carried away recently in Paris on a severe chill.
Yes, but you said yourself that the severe chill isn't hereditary.
It used to be, I know, but I dare say it is now. Science is always making such wonderful improvements in things.
No, that is nonsense. You are always talking nonsense.
Jack, you are at the muffins again. I wish you wouldn't. There are only 2 left. Oh, good heavens, Gwendolen. I told you I was particularly fond of muffins.
But I hate tea cake.
Why on earth, then, do you allow it to be served up for your guests? What ideas you have of hospitality?
Alfie, I wish to goodness you would go. I don't want you here. Why don't you go?
I haven't quite finished my tea yet! And there's still 1 muffin left. Ah!
They did not come after us in the house as anyone else would have done. Seems to me to show that they have some sense of shame left.
They seem to have been eating muffins.
That looks like repentance. Oh, but they don't seem to notice us at all. Couldn't you cough?
But I haven't got a cough.
Oh, they're looking at us. What effrontery.
Oh, they're approaching. That's very forward of them.
Let us preserve a dignified silence.
Certainly. It is the only thing to do now.
Sweet little Cecily, don't go away, don't be a stranger. You have forgiven me once before, you perfect angel. Not sure if I'm wicked really, but if you've been wondering, of course I'll take you, darling, next time I'm done burying. Good heavens, Gwendolen, Jack loves you so, there is no other. He's such an earnest man, but earnestly he has no brother. And though he deceive you, yes, with improbable explanation, call him anything you like.
patience. Gwendolen and Cecily, please take us back. We missed you dearly ever since you went away. Finally, we're seeing clearly. Yes, I'm still Algernon, and he's Jack or John or
Mr. Worthing!
We just came up to say we promise to be better soon.
This dignified silence seemed to produce a most unpleasant effect.
A very distasteful one.
Although we shall not be the first to speak.
Certainly not.
Mr. Worthing, I have something very particular to say to you. Much depends upon your reply.
Gwendolen, your common sense is invaluable. Mr. Moncrief, kindly answer me the following question. Why did you pretend to be my guardian's brother?
In order that I might have the opportunity of meeting you.
Well, that seems a very satisfactory explanation, does it not?
Yes, dear, if you can believe him.
Well, I don't. But that does not affect the wondrous beauty of his answer.
Oh, true. In matters of grave importance, style and not sincerity is the vital thing. Mr. Webb, what explanation can you provide for pretending to have a brother? Was it so that you might have an opportunity of coming up to town to see me as often as possible?
Can you doubt it, Miss Fairfax?
I have the gravest doubts upon the subject, but I intend to crush them. This is not the time for German skepticism. Their explanations seem to be most satisfactory, especially Mr. Worthing's. He says the stamp of truth upon it.
I am more than content with what Mr. Moncrief said. His voice alone inspires absolute credulity.
Then you think we should forgive them?
Yes. I mean, no.
Oh, true. There are principles at stake that one cannot surrender. But which of us shall tell them? The task will not be a pleasant one.
Could we not all speak at the same time?
Oh, an excellent idea. I nearly always speak at the same time as other people. Will you take the time from me?
Certainly.
Your Christian names are still an insuperable barrier, that is all.
Our Christian names, is that all? But we are going to be christened this afternoon.
For my sake, you're prepared to do this terrible thing?
I am.
To please me, you are ready to face this fearful ordeal?
I am.
Oh, how absurd to talk of the equalities of the sexes, where matters of self-sacrifice are concerned. Men are infinitely beyond us.
We are.
They have moments of physical courage, of which we women know absolutely nothing.
Darling! Lady Bracknell!
Good heavens! What is the meaning of this?
Merely that I am engaged to be married to Mr. Worthing, Mamma.
Come here, sit down! Sit down immediately! Come, sit! Hesitation of any kind is a sign of moral decay in the young, of physical weakness in the old. Apprised, sir, of my daughter's sudden flight by her trusty maid, whose confidence I purchased by means of a small coin, I followed her at once on a luggage train. Her unhappy father is, I'm glad to say, under the impression that she is attending a more than usually lengthy lecture from the University Extension Scheme on the influence of a permanent income on thought. I do not propose to undeceive him. Indeed, I've never undeceived him on any question. I would consider it wrong. But you, sir, must clearly understand you must cease any and all conversation between yourself and my daughter from this moment immediately. On this point, as indeed on all points, I am firm.
I am engaged to be married to Gwendolen, Lady Bracknell.
You're not even kind, sir. And now, as regards to Algernon. Algernon!
Yes, Aunt Augusta?
May I ask if it is within the this house that your invalid friend Bunbury resides?
Oh, no, Bunbury does not live here. Bunbury is somewhere else at present. In fact, Bunbury is dead.
Dead? When did he die? His death must have been extremely sudden.
Oh, I killed Bunbury yesterday.
What?
Bunbury died yesterday.
What did he die of?
Oh, Bunbury? Oh, he was quite exploded.
Exploded? Was he a victim of a revolutionary outrage? If so, well, he is well punished for his morbidity. Yes.
What I mean, Professor, is Bunbury was found out. The doctors found out that Bunbury could not live. That is what I mean. And so, Bunbury died.
Well, he seems to have great confidence in the opinion of his physicians. Well, I am glad, at any rate, that he made the choice, came to a very direct course of action, and then acted under proper medical advice. And now that we're finally rid of Mr. Bunbury, Mr. Worthing, may I ask, who is that young person whose hand my nephew Algernon is now holding in what seems to me a peculiarly unnecessary manner?
That lady is Miss Cecily Cardew, my ward.
I'm engaged to be married to Cecily, Professor.
I beg your pardon?
Mr. Moncrief and I are engaged to be married, Lady Bracknell.
I do not know if there is anything peculiarly exciting in the air in this particular part of Hertfordshire. Thank you. But the number of engagements that go on seems to me greatly above the proper average that statistics have laid down for our guidance. I suppose some preliminary inquiries on my part would not be out of place. Mr. Worthing, is Miss Cardew at all connected with any of the larger railway stations in London? I merely desire information. Until yesterday, I had no idea there were any families or persons whose origin was a terminus.
Miss Cardew is the granddaughter of the late Mr. Thomas Cardew of 149 Belgrave Square, S.W. Gervase Park, Dorking, Surrey, and the sporting Fifeshire, N.B.
Well, that is not unsatisfactory. Free addresses always inspires confidence, even in tradesmen. But what proof have I of their authenticity?
I have carefully preserved the court guides of the period. They are open to your inspection, Lady Bracknell.
I have known strange errors in those publications.
Miss Cardew's family solicitors are Messrs. Markby, and Markby.
Markby and Markby. Oh, a firm of the highest position in their profession. Indeed, I know one of Mr. Markby's is occasionally to be seen at dinner parties. So far, I am satisfied.
How extremely kind of you, Lady Bracknell. I also have in my possession, you will be pleased to hear, certificates of Miss Cardew's birth, baptism, whooping cough, registration, vaccination, confirmation, and the measles, both the German and the English varieties.
Oh, life crowded with incidents, I see. Though perhaps a bit too exciting for a young girl. I myself am not in favour of premature experiences. Come, dear. The time for our departure approaches. We have not a moment to lose. Mr. Worthing, as a matter of form, I had better inquire if Miss Cardew has any little fortune.
Oh, only about £130,000 in funds. That is all. Goodbye, Lady Bracknell. So pleased to have seen you.
A moment, Mr. Worthing. £130,000? And in the funds, you say? Well, Miss Cardew seems a very attractive young woman now that I look at her. Indeed, few girls of the present age have any of the really solid qualities, the qualities that last, that improve with time. We live, I am sad to say, in an age of surfaces. Come here, darling. Your dress is sadly sinful. Your hair looks as nature might have left it. But all that can be easily altered. A thoroughly experienced French maid can produce quite a remarkable result in a very brief space of time. Well, I remember recommending one once to young Lady Lansing, and after 3 months, her own husband did not know her.
And after 6 months, nobody knew her.
Kindly turn around, sweet child. Yes. No, the side view is what I want. The side, yes. Okay, stop. That's good. There, yeah. Quite as I expected. There are distinct social possibilities in your profile. The 2 weak points of our age are its lack of principle and its lack of profile. Chin a little higher, darling. Style depends largely on how the chin is worn. They are all very high at present. Algernon!
Yes, Aunt Augusta.
There are distinct social possibilities in Miss Cardew's profile.
Yes, Cecily is the dearest, sweetest, prettiest girl in the whole world. And I don't care 2 pence about social possibilities.
Do not be so disparaging about society, Algernon. Only people who can't get into it do that. Come here, darling. You are aware, of course, that Algernon has nothing but his debts to depend upon. But I myself do not approve of mercenary marriages. When I married Lord Bracknell, I had no fortune of any kind, but I never dreamed for a moment of letting that stand in my way. Well, I suppose I must give my consent.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
Cecily, you may kiss me.
Thank you, Lady Bracknell.
You may also call me Aunt Augusta in the future.
Oh, thank you, Aunt Augusta.
The marriage should take place quite soon, I think.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
Well, I myself am not a fan of long engagements. They give one the opportunity of finding out each other's character before marriage, which I think is never advisable.
I beg your pardon. I'm afraid this engagement is quite out of the question. I am Miss Cardew's guardian. She cannot marry without my consent until she comes of age. That consent, I absolutely decline to give.
On what grounds? Algernon is an exceedingly, I almost say ostentatiously eligible young man. He has nothing, but he looks everything. What more could one desire?
Pains me very much to have to speak frankly to you, Lady Bracknell, about your nephew. The fact is, I don't approve at all of his moral character. I suspect him of being untruthful.
Untruthful? My nephew Algernon? Impossible! He's an Oxonian.
I fear there can be no possible doubt about the matter. This afternoon, during my temporary absence in London on an important question of romance, he obtained admission to my house by means of the false pretense of being my brother. Under an assumed name, he drank, I've just been informed by my butler, an entire pint bottle of my Perrier Jouet Brew 89, wine I was specially reserving for myself. Continuing his disgraceful deception, he succeeded in the course of the afternoon in alienating the affections of my only ward. He subsequently stayed to tea and devoured every single muffin. And if his conduct couldn't be more heartless, he was perfectly well aware from the first time that I have no brother, that I never had a brother, and that I don't intend to have a brother, not even of any kind. I distinctly told him so myself yesterday afternoon.
After careful consideration, I have decided to overlook entirely my nephew's conduct towards you.
It's very generous of you, Lady Bracknell. My own decision, however, is unalterable. I decline to give my consent.
Come here, darling. Come here. How old are you?
Well, I'm really only 18, but I always admit to 20 at evening parties.
Oh, you are perfectly right in adding a little extra. No woman should ever be quite accurate as to her age. It looks so calculating. 18, but admits to 20 at dinner parties. Well, It won't be long before you're of age, and therefore free from the restraints of tutelage. So I see no reason why your guardian's consent should, after all, be of any importance.
Pray excuse me, Lady Bracknell, for interrupting you again. But it is only fair to tell you that according to the terms of her grandfather's will, Miss Cardew does not come legally of age until she is 35.
Oh, I don't see why that's in any way objectionable. 35 is a very attractive age. Why, London society is filled with women of the highest birth who, of their own free choice, have been 35 for years. Why, Lady Dumbleton is an instance in point. To my own knowledge, she has been 35 ever since she reached the age of 40, which was many years ago now. I see no reason why lovely Cecily should not be even more attractive at that age than she is at present. There will be a large accumulation of property.
Algie, could you wait for me till I was 35?
Of course I could. You know I could.
Yes, I felt it instinctively. But I could not wait all that time. I hate waiting for anybody, even for 5 minutes. Always makes me rather cross. I am not punctual myself, I know, but I do like punctuality in others, and waiting, even to be married, is quite out of the question.
Then what is to be done, Cecily?
I don't know, Mr. Moncrief.
Mr. Worthing, seeing as how Miss Cardew states positively that she cannot wait until she is 35 to be married, a remark which I must say seems to show a rather impatient nature, I beg you to reconsider your decision.
But, my dear Lady Bracknell, the matter is entirely in your own hands. The moment you consent to my marriage with Gwendolen, I will most certainly allow your nephew to form an alliance with my lord.
You must know that what you ask is impossible.
And a passionate celibacy is all that any of us could look forward to.
It is not the future I desire for Gwendolen. Algernon, of course, may choose for himself. Come, dear. We have missed 5, if not 6 trains already. To miss another would open us up to comment on the platform.
Everything is quite ready for the christenings.
The christening, sir? Isn't that a bit premature?
Both these gentlemen have expressed a desire for immediate baptism.
What? At their age? Oh, the idea is grotesque and irreligious. Algernon, I forbid you to be baptized. I will not hear of such excesses. Lord Bracknell would be horrified to learn this was how you was wasting your time and your money.
I don't understand then that there are to be no christenings at all this afternoon.
I don't think that's as things are now. It would be of much practical value to either of us, Dr. Chasuble.
I'm grieved to hear such sentiments from you, Mr. Worthing. They savour of the heretical views of the Anabaptists, views that I've completely refuted in 4 of my unpublished sermons. However, since your present mood seems one particularly secular, I shall return to the church at once. Indeed, the pew opener has just informed me that for the last hour and a half, Miss Prism has been waiting for me in the vestry.
Miss Prism? Did you mention a Miss Prism?
Yes, Lady Bracknell. I'm on my way to join her.
Pray, allow me to detain you for a moment. This matter may prove of vital importance to Lord Bracknell and myself. Is this Miss Prism a female of repellent nature remotely connected with education?
She is the most cultivated of ladies, and the very picture of respectability.
Obviously, it's the same person. What position does she hold in your household?
I am a celibate, madam.
Miss Prism, Lady Bracknell, for the last 3 years has been Miss Cardew's esteemed governess and valued companion.
Oh, well, despite what I've heard from her, I must see for myself. Have her sent for?
Well, she approaches. She is nigh.
I was told you expected me in the vestry, dear Canon. I have been waiting for you there for 1 hour and 3/4.
Prism! Come here, Prism! Prism! Where is that baby? 28 years ago, Prism, you left Lord Bracknell's house number 104 Upper Grosvenor Street in charge of a perambulator which contained a baby of the male sex. You never returned. 3 weeks later, thanks to the exhaustive effort of the Metropolitan Police, the perambulator was discovered at midnight in a remote corner of Bayswater. It contained a manuscript of a 3-volume novel of more than usually revolting sentimentality. But the baby was not there! Prism, where is that baby?
Lady Bracknell, I admit with shame I do not know. I only wish that I did. The plain facts of the case are these. On the morning of the day you mentioned, a day that is forever branded on my memory, I prepared, as usual, to take the baby out in its perambulator. I had also with me a somewhat old but capacious handbag in which I had intended to place a manuscript of a work of fiction that I had written during my few unoccupied hours. In a moment of mental abstraction, for which I never can forgive myself, I deposited the manuscript in the bassinet and placed the baby in the handbag.
Where did you deposit the handbag?
Do not ask me, Mr. Worthing.
Miss Prism, this is a matter of no small importance to me. I insist on knowing where you deposited the handbag that contained that infant.
I placed it in the cloakroom of one of the larger railway stations in London.
What railway station?
Victoria, the Brighton line.
I must retire to my room for a moment. Gwendolen, wait here for me.
If you're not too long, I shall wait for you all my life.
What do you think this means, Lady Bracknell?
Oh, I hardly dare suspect, Dr. Chasuble. I need not tell you that in high society, in families, strange coincidences are not supposed to occur. They are hardly considered the thing.
Uncle Jack seems strangely agitated.
Your guardian is most emotional nature.
Oh, such noise. It sounds like he's having an argument. I dislike arguments of any kind. They are always vulgar and often convincing.
It has stopped now.
I hope he's come to some conclusion.
Oh, the suspense is terrible. I hope it will last.
Is this the handbag, Miss Prism? Examine it carefully before you speak. The happiness of more than one life depends on your answer.
Good. It seems to be mine. Oh, yes, here is the injury received through the upsetting of a Gower Street omnibus in younger and happier days. On here on the lining is the stain from the explosion of a temperance beverage, an incident that occurred at Leamington. Oh, and here on the lock are my initials. I had forgotten that in their extravagant mood I had them placed there. The bag is undoubtedly mine. I am delighted to see it so unexpectedly restored to me. It has been a great inconvenience to be without it all of these years.
Miss Prism, more's restored to you than this handbag. I was the baby you placed inside.
You?
Yes, Mother!
Mr. Worthing, I am unmarried.
Unmarried? I do not deny this is a serious blow, but after all, who has the right to cast a stone against one who has suffered? Not repentance, wipe out an act of folly. Why should there be one half for men and another for women? Mother, I forgive you.
Mr. Worthing, there is some error. There is the woman who could tell you who you really are.
Lady Bracknell, I hate to seem inquisitive. Well, would you kindly inform me who I am?
I'm afraid the news I have to tell you will not altogether please you. You are the son of my poor sister, Mrs. Moncrief, and therefore Algernon's elder brother.
Elder brother? Then I have a brother after all. I knew I had a brother. I always said I had a brother. Cecily, How could you ever doubt that I had a brother? Dr. Chasuble, my unfortunate brother! Miss Prism, my unfortunate brother! Gwendolen, my unfortunate brother! Algie, you young scoundrel, you'll have to treat me with more respect in the future. You have never behaved to me like a brother in all your life.
Not till today, I admit, old boy. However, I did my best, though I was out of practice.
My own! Oh, but what own are you? What is your Christian name, now that you've become someone else?
Good heavens, I quite forgot my fault. Your decision on the subject of my name is irrevocable, I suppose.
I never change, except in my affections.
What a noble nature you have, Gwendolen.
Then the question had better be cleared up at once. Aunt Augusta, a moment. At the time when Miss Prism went in Hamburg, had I been christened already?
Oh, every luxury money could buy, including christening, been lavished upon me by your fond and doting parents.
I was christened. That is settled. Now, what name was I given? Let me know the worst.
Well, being the eldest son, you were naturally christened after your father.
Yes, but what was my father's Christian name?
Yeah, I don't at present recall the general's Christian name. I'm sure he had one, though. He was eccentric, but only in later years. And that was due to the Indian climate. Oh, and married. And Indian, yes. Oh, and other things.
Algie, can't you recollect what our father's Christian name was?
My dear boy, we were never even on speaking terms. He died before I was a year old.
His name would appear in the army list of the time period, I suppose, Aunt Augusta.
Well, the general was mainly a man of peace outside of his domestic life. But yeah, his name should be in any military manual to be.
The army list of the last 40 years are here. His record should have been my delightful study. M. Generals, Malin, Maxwell, Martin, look, what ghastly names they have. Markby, Migsby, Marks, Moncrief! Lieutenant, 1840, Captain, Lieutenant Colonel, General, 1869, Christian name, Ernest John. I always told you, Gwendolen, my name was Ernest. It is Ernest after all. I mean, naturally is Ernest.
Yes, I remember now. The general's name was Ernest. I knew there was a reason I disliked that name.
Oh, Ernest! My own Ernest! I knew from the first that you could have no other name.
Gwendolen, it is a terrible thing for a man to find out suddenly that all his life he's been speaking nothing but the truth. My own one.
I think I can forgive you, for I feel that you are sure to change.
Tisha.
Frederick, at last.
Cecily, at last.
Gwendolen, at last.
My nephew, you seem to be showing signs of triviality.
On the contrary, Aunt Augusta, for the first time in my life, I finally realized the vital importance of being earnest.
Wait, no, 1 second. Sweet little Cecily, don't go away, don't be a stranger. You had forgiven me once before, you perfect angel. Not sure if I'm wicked really well, if you've been wondering. Of course I'll take you, darling, next time I'm unburying. Good heavens, Gwendolen, Jack loves you so there is no other. He's such an earnest man, but honestly he has no brother. And though he deceived you, yes, with improbable explanation, call him anything you like, you know he'll still produce vibrations. Let's go! Gwendolen, Cecily, please take us back, we miss you dearly. Ever since you went away, finally we're seeing clearly. Yes, I'm still Algernon, and he's Jack or John or Mr. Worthy. We just came up to say we promise to be better persons.
Lemon poppy seed.
We're still here?